Listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Dan Arth, and for the next hour, I will be reading from the December 2025 issue of the East Aurora Advertiser on the Niagara Frontier radio reading service. Town of Elma to pay managers overtime by David Dahl. Despite the town supervisor's objection, Town of Elma salaried employees will soon receive overtime pay. The town board approved a proposal to pay salaried employees for up to 20 hours of overtime the night of Wednesday, December 17th. Board members voted 3-1 with Supervisor Wayne Clark opposing the measure. Councilman Tracy Petrosi was absent. Clark emphasized salaried employees who work in management positions should not be paid overtime because their job description includes working extra hours without additional pay. I don't think salaried employees should get overtime, he said. You're salaried. That's your job. Another board member backed the proposal because of the limit. I don't have a problem with it because it's capped at 20 hours, said Councilman Leroy Kupchik. In another matter, the board authorized the hiring of a part-time clerk in the town supervisor's offer. Karen Dojnik will be paid $22.75 per hour for duties that include work in other departments. Her starting date has not been determined. The board also appointed Petrosi as the website administrator for $20 per month. He will start January 1 after his term expires. On another topic, board members finalized a contract with Teamsters Local 264, the union that represents employees in the highway, water, and sewer departments and transfer station. Details of the 3-year contract were unavailable. Board members also allowed a payment to a volunteer firefighter who suffered a permanent disability in an accident unrelated to firefighting. Clark did not disclose the firefighter's name or the amount. Penflex, a division of the McNeil and Company insurance firm, will pay him. The board also approved a business use permit for James Largnani, a chiropractor at 430 Main Street. He is returning to the office he rented during the late 1990s. Officials also scheduled a public hearing during the next regular meeting at 7 p.m., January 28th, for a variance to create another soccer field at Salen's Sports Park at 7110 Seneca Street. East Aurora School Board discusses vacancy options by Sean Cunningham. The East Aurora School Board could see a new member appointed as soon as January. The board discussed possible options to fill the vacant seat left by Jessica Armbrust during the December 17th meeting. Armbrust resigned following her election to the Aurora Town Board. Her term will expire at the end of June 2026. The board has 3 potential options regarding her replacement. They can appoint someone, hold a special election, or leave the seat vacant for the remaining 6 months of the school term. School Board President Joseph Cassidy reminded the board that Armbrust serves on the Policy Committee and Budget and Finance Committee, as well as serving as an alternate for the Health Curriculum Advisory Committee and an alternate for the district-wide Safety Committee. Cassidy asked each board member for their thoughts for the direction the board should take. All board members agreed that holding a special election would be too costly, especially with another election just months away. School board member Daniel Brunson said that he was in favor of appointing someone with experience, but if someone was not appointed, the existing board members would need to divvy up the committee positions. I'm leaning towards possibly appointing someone, school board member Kimberly Danu said. There are big shoes to fill. To have someone that has some experience, I think that would be beneficial for us as a district. School board member Jessica Ongst Weitzel questioned the procedure of appointing someone. Weitzel said that potential appointees could be considered from the candidates who ran in the May 2025 election. It would be a way for someone who has experience to decide if they really want to be on the board. School board member Maria Improto said. School board member Paul Blowers said that he was not in favor of appointing someone. I think the easiest time to learn to be a board member is July, August, September, October, Blowers said. Blowers was appointed to the school board in June of 2021 to fill a vacancy. He has since been elected twice to the board. Cassidy said he was in favor of appointing someone. Cassidy said that he believed the workload of the committee's Armbrust was serving on was large, and that while he did not expect to see the appointed individual to take over those roles, having an existing board member take those positions would require the filled seat to keep the board adequately represented across its committees. Cassidy said that the first step would be to look for an experienced individual who was willing to serve in the role for 6 months. Beyond that, the district would need to have a greater discussion around the process for appointing someone. I would not be in favor of the process that was followed to appoint Mr. Blowers, which I believe involved interviews of 15 people, Cassidy said, adding that he believed it felt excessive. Brunson suggested that board officers Cassidy and Danu ask previous board members to consider serving for the remaining 6 months. I think as far as the community goes, the safest thing is to continue on with the six, Blower said. I'll support the majority decision. Cassidy asked board members what their thoughts are moving forward would be if a previous board member could not be found. Weitzel, Brunson, and Blowers all stated that they would like to keep the seat vacant if an appropriate appointee could not be found. Cassidy said that he and Danu will report back with their findings in January. The school board will meet again at 7 p.m. Wednesday, January 14th in the middle school cafeteria on Main Street. Proposed improvements at South Street Bowl Diamonds discussed. Article by Sean Cunningham, staff reporter. A series of improvements to the baseball diamonds at South Street were discussed during the Town of Aurora's work session on Tuesday, December 16th. East Aurora Baseball and Softball Board President Dan Mursky was present to discuss a new storage shed and possible lighting improvements in the park. Mursky said the organization is looking to replace an old equipment shed with a brand new storage shed. Currently, equipment is stored there during the season, but then cleared out. Mursky said the shed has been broken into a number of times. We have grown enough now where we need more room, Mursky said. East Aurora Baseball and Softball are close to purchasing a 10-foot by 20-foot shed that would be relocated next to the existing snack shack. The existing equipment shed would be removed, and the organization is looking to turn that area into a bullpen for players to warm up. Mursky said that one of the reasons the organization wanted to relocate the new equipment shed next to the snack shack is its proximity to electricity. Being able to electrify the shed would allow for the ability to charge the electric pitching machines. Currently, the batteries are charged in the snack shack during the season. Mursky wanted to confirm with town officials that they approved of the plan before the organization purchased the new shed. The town will need to get a permit to have the shed placed in the park. Mursky was advised to contact the building department to make sure there were no issues with the shed installation. Mursky also discussed some long-term plans for lighting the fields. As the league has grown, we are running into capacity issues with our fields, and obviously there's only a certain amount of daylight you can play in during the day. Mirsky said. As a result, Mirsky said that East Aurora baseball and softball would like to put lights on a second baseball diamond. Mirsky said that they are projecting 300 youth athletes to register this year. A local lighting company has said that they would donate the lights if the poles and labor are paid for. Mirsky said that the organization has also secured a donation of poles. According to Highway Superintendent David Gunner, there may be issues with the placement of the lights as they relate to existing high wires owned by NYSEG. I think we need to start with seeing if that service is big enough, Supervisor Charles Snyder said. Snyder said that there were issues experienced with electric connectivity when the bathroom renovations were done. Gunner said that he would initiate a conversation with NYSEG regarding its current service to the park. Snyder asked for East Aurora baseball and softball to submit a plan that included the full scope of the work that would need to be done. The Aurora Town Board will meet again at 6:30 p.m. Monday, January 12th at the Aurora Municipal Center on Oakwood Avenue. Next article, Friends of the Library share gift basket raffle results. The 2025 Friends Holiday Gift Basket Raffle is considered by organizers to be a success. Rhoda Zucker spearheaded the fundraiser, which generated $978. All proceeds benefit the Friends of the Library, a 501c3 nonprofit group that believes a library is essential for a thriving community. The group plays a role in promoting and funding library programs, materials, furniture, and equipment. Another article, Elma Library receives state grant. The Elma Public Library will receive assistance from New York State to upgrade the facility on Bowen Road. This funding was secured with the assistance of Senator Patrick Gallivan. The library will receive $23,956 to replace the building's HVAC system. The funds are part of the $44 million in capital funds for public library construction and improvements included in this 2024-2025 state budget. Gallivan's office said that New York's public libraries are in urgent need of renovation and upgrading. A recent survey showed a documented need for public library construction and renovation projects totaling more than $1.75 billion, more than a third of over 1,000 public library buildings in communities across New York are 100 plus years old. In another article about library board meetings in 2026, the board for the Aurora Town Public Library will meet at 6 p.m. on the following Mondays throughout the year at the library located at 550 Main Street, January 26th, February 23rd, March 23rd, April 27th, May 18th, June 22nd, September 28th, October 26th, and November 16th and December 14th. The meeting schedule is subject to change should emergencies arise or if quorum will not be present. Call the library at 716-652-4440 to verify meeting dates. And you are listening to a reading of articles and features from the East Aurora Advertiser on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Next article, Aurora Police Report. Hamburg resident arrested for DWI following crash. A 42-year-old male from Hamburg was arrested for aggravated DWI following an accident that occurred on Oakwood Avenue at 1:45 p.m. Wednesday, December 10th. According to the report, a vehicle was observed to be stopped in the road with the subject in the driver's seat. The subject was observed reaching around inside his vehicle in an attempt to turn it off. The subject continually reached around and turned knobs and controls but could not get the keys out of the ignition. The driver's door was opened by an officer who attempted to speak with the subject. The subject was reportedly confused and just kept answering, I'm okay. The report says an odor of alcohol was detected and the subject was showing signs of intoxication. The subject stated that he had been drinking. The subject reportedly had a hard time answering simple questions and responded with answers that did not make sense. He was unaware that he was involved in an accident. The subject failed standard field sobriety tests after needing to use his vehicle to stabilize himself upon exit. The subject was placed under arrest and taken to the station for processing. When attempting to secure a breath sample, the device registered an error message 3 times. The subject was then transported to the Orchard Park Police Department and a breath test was secured. The subject had a 0.2% blood alcohol content, over twice the legal limit. The subject's vehicle was towed from the scene and kept on a 12-hour hold. Fire. A basement fire was reported on North Willow Street at 12:30 p.m. Friday, November 28th. According to the report, no smoke or fire was visible from the exterior of the house. The owner stated that 2 electrical heaters were plugged into a socket in the basement. They overheated and created a fire. The owner was able to extinguish the majority of the fire with a fire extinguisher. The East Aurora Fire Department arrived on scene and completed the overhaul. Damages included an electrical socket, a small portion of basement wall, and heavy white smoke throughout the house. Grand larceny. A 76-year-old female from Lancaster reported a possible theft of her purse from her vehicle on Friday, November 28th. According to the report, the subject stated that she believes an unknown subject took the purse from her vehicle that was parked in the Gray Street Plaza between 2:30 and 4:30 p.m. The complainant stated that she was shopping at various stores in the plaza and did not need her purse to make purchases, as she was able to purchase items with her phone. The victim did not realize that her purse was missing until the following evening. The purse reportedly contained several credit and debit cards, cash, personal documents, and medication. The victim has since canceled all of her cards and had her prescriptions refilled. The victim filed the report for documentation purposes. Harassment. A harassment complaint was reported by a 52-year-old female from East Aurora. According to the report, the victim stated that her boyfriend of 28 years has been cheating on her with a 30-year-old female from Elma for the last 3 years. The Elma woman and listed subject has been aggressive toward her in the past through text messages, although the victim has never been threatened by her. At 7 p.m. Friday, December 12th, the victim was turning right onto Main Street from South Grove Street when she observed the subject's vehicle turning left from Main Street onto South Grove Street. The victim decided to drive around the block and take another look at the winter market on the Roycroft campus. While on Oakwood Avenue, the victim passed by the subject's vehicle again, at which point the subject turned around and began to follow the victim. The victim continued to drive around the block multiple times and reportedly observed the subject's vehicle follow her for approximately 5 minutes. At one point, the victim stated the subject beeped her horn, but at no point were any gestures or words exchanged. The victim is requesting documentation of the incident. A Happy New Year of Birding by Hans Kunz, columnist. A new year is about to begin, and it's hard to believe how fast the last one went. If you are a regular reader of my bi-weekly column, I figure you are a bird and nature enthusiast, and I thank you for reading it and passing it on to your friends. It's been a good year for enjoying birds and nature. Last winter was a doozy with plenty of snow, more like winters used to be and ought to be. It brought many birds to the feeding stations, and when spring finally got here, there were lots of new birds to our yards and gardens. It was a very hot humid and droughty summer, making it challenging for farmers and for home gardeners keeping their flowers and veggies watered all summer long. We were rewarded with a nice fall after enduring the earlier weather challenges. My last column was about the rufous hummingbird from out west that had been coming to a sugar water feeder at the Ignatz residence in nearby Wyoming Village in Wyoming County. I've heard from many of you, and many more are wondering if it is still around. December 8th was its last day here in Wyoming. Did it die, or did it have a revelation and decide to fly south? No one knows, but we do know that God works in mysterious ways. If you recall, the story wasn't just about the lost western hummingbird, but also about the wonderful people involved that this tiny bird helped bring together. Together, showing thanks and respect for each other's kindness and hospitality and camaraderie as dozens came to see this rare bird. Looking back to last March, Leslie and I were so glad we took a 10-day vacation to Costa Rica to do some pretty intense birding from morning till night every day. We were on the go, but did see so many beautiful birds and animals and flora. Thank goodness it was a package deal where all travel within Costa Rica was included, along with all hotels and meals, and 2 expert birding guides. The people were all so nice, and the scenery was spectacular. The amount of beauty that exists in all corners of this earth is unfathomable, and we can thank God for that too. Back here in New York State, we have plenty of beauty as well, and the change of seasons. Yes, we endure some nasty cold winter days and some cool muddy fall and spring days, but the blessings we get during those many delightful spring, summer, and fall days is worth it. Our current winter seems to have started in mid-November and looks to be another steady and traditional cold winter. Again, let's be thankful for our warm homes and all of the services afforded us as we wait out storm systems and other challenges. And how about the generous food pantries that so many people work at and donate to, and so many others in need benefit from? That takes me to sharing some of our resources with the birds of the wild that have to face some pretty harsh winter conditions during these nasty winter weather events, especially high winds with snow and very frigid temperatures. I often wonder how these birds are keeping warm through these longest nights of the year. Yes, daylight now begins growing longer, meaning shorter nights, but still plenty of tough weather to deal with. So many of you feed the birds religiously, and I thank you for that. Not because I sell bird feed, but because you are willing to give up some of your financial resources for bird feed and feeders for our beautiful and fascinating feathered friends. They entertain us all year round, so it's nice to help them out. It's a very gratifying feeling. If you have empty feeders out there, how about filling them and making the birds' winter survival a little more secure? You'll feel better, just like you do when you support the local food pantry. The Christmas season is when the Audubon Society and others sponsor annual Christmas bird counts in various 15-mile diameter circles around North America. There are several in western and central New York. I live in one of those circles called the Letchworth Silver Lake Count, centered at Perry Center. These bird counts are done by volunteers, and this is the 50th year for this particular count. Some counts have been going for over 100 years. On our recent local count, we experienced an extremely high count of red-breasted nuthatches. Our total species count was 70, which is a new record for a count when all of the bodies of water in our count circle are frozen over, which limits us on waterfowl species. These counts are another example of citizen science in action, just like if you report your bird findings on eBird or Project Feeder Watch, both through Cornell's Lab of Ornithology. So with the beginning of another great year ahead, see if you can make enjoying the birds a little more of a priority. So many people just don't know the joy of feeding the birds until they finally give it a try and reap the rewards. Trust me, I've seen it happen so many times over my decades of birding and promoting the feeding of the birds. Just for fun, don't forget to start your 2026 bird list on January 1 and take it to the next level by using the free, user-friendly eBird and Merlin apps on your phone. You'll have so much fun with it. Now, have a wonderful new year and enjoy each new day with a spring in your step as we remain thankful for so many blessings. I am going to. Hans Kunz is a lifelong avid birder and nature enthusiast. He has been writing a column for several newspapers on birds and nature every 2 weeks for over 30 years. He and his wife Leslie live on a farm in Wyoming, New York, where they also operate a small retail greenhouse and bird feed business and lead birding and garden walks for several groups and individuals. He can be reached by writing to Hans Kunz at 6340 LaGrange Road, Wyoming, New York 14951, or call or text 585-813-2676 or email lesliekunze at AOL.com. That's LESLIEKUNZE at AOL.com. Next article. Proposed legislation could modernize impaired driving laws. Senator Patrick M. Gallivan says in recognition of National Drunk and Drugged Driving Prevention Month, he is renewing his call for action on legislation to modernize New York's impaired driving laws and better protect motorists, pedestrians, and families all across the state. Under current statute, drivers can only be charged if the specific substance impairing them is listed in law, leaving loopholes that allow some impaired drivers to evade accountability even when their behavior puts others at risk. Gallivan is co-sponsoring a bill, S.6485, that will bring New York's impaired driving laws into the modern era. The legislation shifts the legal focus from a narrow list of substances to a clear standard based on impairment, define impairment and intoxication in statute, update field testing procedures, establish refusal of a field sobriety test as a traffic infraction, expand circumstances for chemical testing following crashes, strengthen license suspension procedures, and require demographic data reporting of stops, arrests, and convictions to promote transparency. The bill also provides an affirmative defense to driving under the influence in cases of allergic reactions or medical emergencies and allows certified drug recognition experts to determine if a driver is under the influence. In addition, this bill would bring New York into alignment with 46 other states that do not use a list to determine substances that define impairment. New York's existing laws dealing with impaired driving are out of date and do not adequately address the growing threat imposed by those who operate a vehicle while impaired by certain drugs, Gallivan said, who is a former New York State trooper and sheriff of Erie County. We need to close the current loopholes that exist and ensure that law enforcement has the tools necessary to hold drugged drivers accountable for their actions and better protect motorists and pedestrians. December's designation as National Drunk and Drugged Driving Prevention Month underscores the issue when impaired driving incidents increase. National safety data continues to show that drug and alcohol impaired driving claims thousands of lives each year, making it a persistent and preventable danger on roadways nationwide. Article: The New Normal. Young Americans face a lifetime of renting home. First-time buyers are facing a lifetime of paying rent, while baby boomers are living mortgage-free. America's housing market has undergone a transformation over the past 4 years, with the most notable changes being that mortgages now cost significantly more than rent nationwide. With 40% of homeowners already living mortgage-free, the standard path from renting to owning has vanished for millions of Americans. What the current market creates is an environment where young people or families who had planned to build wealth now face a lifetime of renting, and parents who hope to pass down property watch that dream slip away, said Sam Berge, a senior analyst at Investors Observer. Middle-class incomes barely keep up with costs. Middle-income households are being pushed out by expensive markets to search for more affordable places, and that is a structural problem. They are forced to look for housing where markets are more affordable and available. With the buy-rent gap flip, it becomes difficult for first-time buyers to save up for a house. In Oklahoma City, an average-sized house contains 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. An average married couple household has an income of around $100,000 per year. And their yearly rent now comes out to about $15,000. This leaves them with $85,000 a year for all other expenses and savings. However, if they had a mortgage, payments could reach up to $2,000 in 2025, which comes to around $24,000 a year. Almost $10,000 less a year for other expenses, emergencies, and savings. But if a couple was thinking about buying a house, they would need to factor in the 20% down payment. Let's say the house costs around $309,000. This means they have to save up almost $62,000 for a deposit and then factor in the over $2,000 mortgage for 30 years. First-time owners with a lower down payment percentage, the mortgage reaches even higher. For first-time owners, to save up for a deposit, factoring in 20% of their income to save while paying $15,000 in annual rent, it would take them more than 3 years to have the down payment. They would be paying rent without equity, and the prices of houses will probably be even higher, possibly prolonging the time it takes to save. Saving becomes even harder for couples with children as they need to calculate the child rearing costs, leaving them with less income that can be set aside for a down payment. The above-mentioned 40% mortgage-free rate tells only part of the story. 54% of them are baby boomers, which means that people age 65 and above have a significant portion of the housing supply, leaving younger generations in an affordability crisis. Homeowners with low mortgage rates are unlikely to sell, and those who are mortgage-free often have no urgency to sell due to their age, retirement, or other plans. This results in an estimated shortage of 2.8 million homes, which could take up to 10 years to fix. Gen Z, however, is looking for ways to afford down payments and still own a home rather than renting. According to the Bank of America, in 2025, 30% of Gen Z homeowners reported that they paid for their down payment by taking on an additional job, and 22% reported that they purchased their home with the help of siblings. However, this would be difficult for families raising children, leaving them with an impossible decision. The housing deficit has been in the U.S. for more than a decade. Bergy said, even with new units being built, a deficit remains. Housing demand will remain strong and housing costs are likely to remain high. And while renting could sound like an easier option, that allows you to move around. Reality is, for most families, it is the only option and it does not build any equity in the end. Editorials. Another round of layoffs on Girard. Last month, the staff at Fisher-Price got a little smaller as the toy company laid off at least 7 employees. This follows a layoff earlier this year of 15 people and one in 2024 of over 100 people. In 2018, there were 700 employees working at the Girard Avenue campus. Today, there are less than half that amount. We have been watching the toy company shrink its real estate footprint. In recent years, it has sold off over 60 acres of land in Holland and East Aurora, including the employee parking lot on Riley Street, 3 homes on Girard Avenue, and the vacant lot at the corner of Girard and Pine, which, much to the dismay of neighbors, is being prepared for new construction by clearing dozens of trees. It's only a matter of time before the East Aurora campus closes permanently. The newspaper reached out to parent company Mattel a few times about the most recent round of layoffs, but did not receive a response before publication. We hope that village officials are in regular communication with local executives about Fisher-Price's future and what the toy company's timeline is to stay here. The largest piece of real estate in question is the campus itself. And short of another manufacturing facility moving into the headquarters on Girard Avenue, the village should be considering what will happen next with the buildings. Hopefully it will not sit vacant for years, deteriorating like the Globe is on Main Street. Our thoughts are with everyone impacted by the latest round of layoffs. Losing employment is never easy, especially around the holidays. Article. Editorial. High schools don't teach what adults actually need. Dear editor, last summer while biking through southern Italy, I was reminded yet again how valuable it would be to be conversational in a language other than English. I took 3 years of German in high school. I learned vocabulary, basic grammar, and how to construct simple sentences, but I never came close to being able to hold a real conversation. Translating words or writing short sentences is not the same as meeting someone on the street and being able to hold a conversation. In the United States, foreign language instruction also faces cultural resistance, as many believe English alone should be the only language used. A similar gap exists in personal finance education. Each year, high school graduates leave school unprepared to manage a credit card, budget, file taxes, understand borrowing, or make basic investment decisions. These are often dismissed as parental responsibilities or skills to be learned later in life. Budgeting, debt, predatory lending, and the role banks and government play in the financial system all deserve classroom attention, even though discussion of banking and government oversight can be politically sensitive. High schools do not neglect conversational language and personal finance because these skills lack value. They are neglected because schools reward what is easiest to standardize and test, not what best prepares students for adult life. Foreign language communication and personal finance skills are difficult to standardize and reduce to multiple choice exams. Grammar rules, vocabulary lists, and formulaic math problems are much easier to test than real conversations or financial decision making. What can be easily measured gets taught. Most high school curricula were designed decades ago with an emphasis on standardized testing for college preparation for a relatively small share of students. Schools therefore focus on what colleges expect on transcripts, advanced math, laboratory science, and years of foreign language study. Colleges rarely reward financial literacy, and they generally measure language learning by time spent in class, not by the ability to communicate. Over time, subjects like Algebra 2 and traditional foreign language curricula have become institutionalized even as their everyday relevance declined for many students. Administrators, in turn, are rewarded for test scores, compliance, and funding stability, not for how well students navigate adulthood. Time is a real constraint. A high school curriculum is finite. Adding serious instruction in daily conversational language or personal finance means that something else must be reduced or eliminated. Every proposed change sparks a debate over which long established course must go. There are exceptions. Some schools integrate finance into math or civics, use project based learning, emphasize language immersion, and assess students through real world tasks rather than standardized tests. These approaches work, but they remain rare. Teaching these subjects will require specialized preparation. Conversational language instruction requires fluency and immersive methods. Effective financial education requires teachers trained in personal finance. Too often, language classes remain focused on grammar and literature rather than communication, and finance is tacked onto math courses. The irony is that these are exactly the skills adults most often say they wish they had learned in school. Surveys consistently show regret over not understanding credit, taxes, and investing, or not being able to speak another language beyond memorized phrases. Our schools are doing many things well. A greater focus on preparing students for everyday adult life should be one of them. Article or letter by Jeffrey K. Hintz, East Aurora. Turning to sports, Redhawks romp over Lackawanna by Rick Oler, sports reporter. I've covered Iroquois Schools basketball coach Steve Sokolsky's teams long enough to know the importance of waiting a day after a loss before I talk to him. Otherwise, he might tell me what he really thinks about his team's play, the opponent's behavior, the officials' competence. So, the day after the Red Hawks' 67-60 loss to Niagara Falls on December 20th in the finals of the Matt Foster Memorial Tournament at Iroquois, Sokolsky was ready to let me know how things had transpired in the rough and tumble matchup with the Wolverines. It was a tough game for both sides, he said, rough and tumble. Niagara Falls whacked our people around pretty good. I mean, we had girls down that had to come out of the game because of fouls, and the officials were, well, you know, when the scorekeepers and the fans are yelling more than me, then something's wrong here. But they played hard. We both played hard, and we got caught up into their running game, and we're not a running team. They made shots that they usually don't make. It didn't help that the Wolverines arrived an hour late because their bus took them to Irondequoit rather than Iroquois. I'm not kidding. In the loss, center Kendall Holzman scored 33 points, swiped 16 rebounds, and had 11 blocks. Maddie Mescal had 11 points and 7 rebounds, and Shauna Bracken scored 10, added 12 rebounds for a working man's double-double, more points than rebounds, and dished 5 assists. The Lackawanna game the day before on December 19th was a polar opposite, an 87-20 blowout. They don't have much, Lackawanna, Sokolsky said. We were being nice, and we still put up 87. They had 3 girls that became eligible academically just before the game, so that hurt them. You know, when the weakest player on our team gets as many minutes as our starters, that tells you something. 10 girls had a hand in the scoring. Holzman led with 28, shooting an amazing 82% from the field to go with 19 rebounds. Maddie Mescal was next with 15. Then came Brooke Vetter with 10 and 5 assists. Taylor Grimm with 8. Lily Camillo with 7. Addie Greibel with 6. Grace Dobmeyer with 5. And Alex Massing with 4. Bracken and Aurora Hernandez scored 2 apiece. Bracken dished 5 assists. The only player who didn't add to the total was Japanese exchange student Saya Sakano, who did record a steal. She's learning the game, Sokolsky said. The day before the Lackawanna game, the Red Hawks hosted Clarence. That was a good game, Sokolsky said. They're a scrappy team. We won by 12, 64-52, but they played hard. We happened to make some clutch baskets, and they didn't shoot well, and that was their downfall. Our guards contributed asset-wise, a nice win for us. They're in a tough division with Lancaster and West Seneca West. Holzman pulled off the working man's double-double with 26 rebounds and 24 points. Vetter pumped in 16, Meskel 9 with 5 assists. Bracken's 5 points look much bigger when you add in her 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and 6 deflections. Holzman sits almost at the top of Section 6 scoring with an average of 27 points even per game, just below Will East's Julie Cruz, who's at 27.8. She leads Western New York with 14.3 rebounds per game. The 5-1 Red Hawks host East Aurora on December 22nd, then travel to Depew for a conference matchup on December 30th. Iroquois boys put 2 more in the win column as Hamburg and West Seneca West fall to Red Hawks, by Rick Oler, sports reporter. You know, a basketball player is having a pretty good season when someone comments that he had, quote, only 35 points in a game. For most high school players or college or pro, for that matter, 35 points is a dream that might never come true. For Justice Kleitz, the Iroquois senior point guard, 35 points is 6 points below his average. To put it in perspective, however, those 35 points represented 65% of his team's output in the 54-41 victory over non-conference opponent Hamburg on December 19th. It's also good to note that to keep a team like Hamburg to 10 points a quarter, the defense has to be on its game too, and the Red Hawks were relentless on defense, capitalizing on turnovers, many of which they forced and which resulted in fast break points. In fact, they outscored the Bulldogs 16-8 on transition points. The Red Hawks set the tone early in this game. They went up 10-0, then 12-2, denying the Bulldogs at every opportunity until the 3:40 mark of the first quarter when they finally scored. Hamburg never caught up. The first quarter would end with Iroquois ahead 13-11, but the Red Hawks opened up another gap in the second, 21-11, and ended the half up 27-20. There was a brief moment where the Bulldogs closed the gap to 4, 39-35 at the 7-minute mark of the fourth, but Iroquois answered with 7 points, and Hamburg, even though they had put up a valiant effort, was effectively done. Their coach called for that intentional fouling business that's supposed to give the trailing team a chance with missed free throws and rebounds, turned into comeback points, but it didn't work this time. Kleitz had 4 steals and 9 deflections in the victory. TJ Domino grabbed 9 rebounds and had 4 steals. Dominic Pasic's 9 points came on 3 rainbows from beyond the arc, and sophomore Ryder Wolf added 5 rebounds. Earlier in the week, Coach Todd Kleitz's boys took on West Seneca West at home. This one was never in doubt as the Red Hawks put 22 first quarter points to the Warhawks 7. They scored an identical 22 in the second quarter to forge a 44-19 lead after 16 minutes on their way to a 79-48 victory. Kleitz had netted 43 points, hitting 16 of 28 two-point attempts, half of his 10 three-point shots, and 6 of 8 free throws. He added 5 steals, 12 deflections, and 4 assists. Domino put together another double-double with 17 points and 11 rebounds. The Section 6 boys basketball website has Kleitz's points per game average at a hearty 41.3, which was helped by his school record 52 against Holland on December 12th. Domino is averaging 12.5 rebounds and 10.8 points per game. Iroquois hosts the Greg Martin Tip-Off Tournament on December 26th and 27th, with the Red Hawks playing the Oatman Knights of Section 5's Leroy in St. Mary's and clashing with Class A1 South Park. The winners will meet on December 27th. Article by Forrest Fisher, Rod, Gun, and Game. Gathered by the season, outdoors, family, and Christmas. In Western New York, Christmas is more than a date on the calendar. It is a gathering season, not only for families and friends, but of stories gathered over a year spent outdoors. When the snow finally settles into the fields, woods, and waterways, hunters, anglers, hikers, bikers, campers, bird watchers, shooters, collectors, and countless other outdoor enthusiasts come inside, boots by the door, to share what the year has given them. The stories differ, but the spirit is the same. Hunters talk quietly at first, then with growing animation, about frosty mornings and tree stands, the sound of leaves under cautious hooves, and the respect that comes with filling a freezer with heart-healthy venison. In Western New York, deer season is not just about antlers. It is about stewardship, patience, and time spent with family. Many of those stories include sons and daughters seeing the woods through new eyes, or longtime friends sharing a final sit together before age or injury says otherwise. Anglers, never shy, recall early mornings on Lake Erie, Chautauqua Lake, or one of the region's many inland waters. They describe fog lifting from the surface, the first tap of a walleye, steelhead cartwheeling in icy tributaries, or the thrill of walking onto safe ice for the first time. Ice fishing tales often come with laughter, stories of cold fingers, lost minnows, and the unspoken bond formed when friends trust one another on frozen water. For many, fishing is less about the catch and more about the quiet moments between bites. Trail bikers and hikers contribute their own chapters. Mountain bikers talk of autumn single-track rides through Allegheny foothills, leaves swirling like confetti around spinning tires. Road cyclists remember long summer evenings along vineyard roads where the scent of grapes was hanging in the air. Hikers may recount trail walks through Zoar Valley, Letchworth, and the Chautauqua Gorge, places where cliffs and rivers remind visitors how small and grateful they are. Campers bring stories of crackling fires, star-filled skies, and simple meals that taste better when cooked outdoors. S'more lives on in our tales. In Western New York, camping often pairs naturally with nearby wineries and a myriad of new distilleries, where an afternoon tasting can become part of a weekend adventure. Those same bottles may now sit on a holiday table, each label carrying memories of sunshine and shared laughter. Bird watchers often offer quieter stories, but no less wonder. They speak of spring warblers flashing through forest canopies, bald eagles perched along frozen shorelines, and backyard feeders busy with chickadees during December snowfalls. Birding teaches patience and attention, gifts that feel especially meaningful during the Christmas season. At the table, you'll also find trap and skeet shooters, many from local high school competitions, recounting matches, broken clays against blue skies, and the discipline learned through practice. Handgun enthusiasts talk about range time, safety, focus, and responsibility, conversations grounded in respect rather than bravado. Even seashell collectors, though far from ocean shores most of the year here, share tales of winter getaways, pockets filled with reminders of waves and warmth. What binds all these pursuits together is not the gear or the trophies,
but the relationships they build. Outdoor activities create shared experiences, surprises, challenges, and moments of awe that last long after the season ends. Christmas becomes the natural place where those stories are retold, polished, and passed along. In Western New York, these gatherings often spill beyond the home. Families and friends meet at favorite chicken wing restaurants where platters arrive steaming and opinions on sauce heat are debated with the same passion as fishing spots. Others gather at wineries overlooking frozen vineyards or at local distilleries where small batch spirits warm cold hands and spark conversation. These places serve as modern campfires, spots where stories are shared, laughter echoes, and bonds are renewed. Yet amid all the activity, there is a deeper reason that draws people together. For many, Christmas is centered on faith, the celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ. He is, as the familiar saying goes, the reason for the season. In homes across the region, nativity scenes sit near outdoor gear, and prayers of thanks are offered not only for meals and family, but for safe seasons afield and afloat. The outdoors teaches humility, gratitude, and respect for creation, values that align naturally with the Christmas message. In the quiet moments after gifts are opened and dishes cleared, someone inevitably reflects on how blessed they are. Blessed for another year of sunrises, safe returns, strengthened friendships, and memories made outdoors. Blessed to live in a region where lakes, forests, fields, and trails are part of our everyday life. As the year closes, plans for the next one are already forming. New hunts, new trips, new trails to explore. For right now, the stories pause, gathered into one place, wrapped in warmth and tradition. You gotta love the outdoors.
You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the December 2025 issue of the East Aurora Advertiser. We read from the East Aurora Advertiser every Saturday at 10 a.m. Your reader today has been me, Dan Arth. It's a pleasure to have spent time with you. Thank you for listening.
Coming up next on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have a reading of the Niagara Gazette. At noon, we have the Dunkirk Observer. And at 1 o'clock, we have some of our Northtown Bees, including Amherst, Clarence, Cheektowaga, Lancaster, and Depew. Stay with us for these readings and more throughout the day. You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. As of this year, our agency has broadcast more than 300,000 hours of radio readings. Volunteer radio readers read newspapers, magazines, and books to area people who are blind or have a print disability, who are provided reading radios. Radio Reading's broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. Radio Reading broadcasts from studios at 1199 Harlem Road in suburban Buffalo. Please let others know about Radio Reading. It's your service. For more information on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, call 716-821-5555. following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision,